What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today I'm going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions. Every time I upload a video featuring oval racing, I can guarantee I'm going to see this question. Why is my steering wheel turned to the right while going down the straightaway? The short and simple answer is, in an oval racing scenario, the car is only going to be making left-hand turns. We're not concerned about making right-hand turns at all. If we're making right-hand turns on an oval, it means either something has gone terribly wrong and we're about to smash into the wall, or alternatively, something's gone terribly wrong and we're about to smash into the wall. Because the car is designed to go through the left-hand turns as fast as possible, the car naturally wants to turn left. And if you don't do anything at all, if you just let go of the steering wheel driving down one of the straightaways, you'll quickly find that the car will turn to the left and you'll end up in the inside of the wall faster than you would ever possibly think. We'll talk about the setup a little bit more here in a moment, because there's also another question at play here, and that is, why do you see my steering wheel offset to the right in one car and one track and one series, when you'll see another video from somebody else and their steering wheel is pointed straight ahead going straight? And that comes down to personal preference. What you see right now is the chassis adjustment page for the iRacing IndyCar. I've loaded up the fixed setup. However, we are in an open testing scenario, so we can change every setting if we would like. In the fixed series, you have these two options available. The steering pinion, which is basically your steering ratio, how responsive your steering is more or less. And then you also have steering offset, which is a particular note to the topic at hand here. Steering offset, as you can read at the bottom, is degrees of steering wheel offset achieved with a combination of installing the steering wheel into the quick release mechanism off center and adjusting front tie rods. The setup is the exact same. This setting doesn't change how fast the car goes or how hard it pulls to the left by default or anything like that. Instead, it just simply makes the steering wheel center when you're going down the straight. For the most part, within the fixed setup series within iRacing, the steering offset is generally set to a position which yields the steering wheel on screen, the steering wheel in your hands, pointing straight ahead to go straight. Now, if you went ahead and took your hands off the wheel, the car would want to pull to the left just like usual anyways. This obviously leads into the question, why do I even change this value? It doesn't make the car faster, so what's it really matter? And the answer is just driver comfort, as well as the fact that other sims don't have this feature available. So I might as well just go ahead and get used to turning right going down the straightaway, because in other games I will be doing that anyways. So it's actually kind of weird for me to be driving down the straightaway with my steering wheel pointed straight ahead in an oval scenario. But the real reason that I run with a positive steering offset is actually, I just find it makes me more comfortable. Not so much of an issue here at Indianapolis with the IndyCar, where the corners are relatively short. You get a good long break in between them. But however, if I go to something like IndyCars at a 1.5 mile track, it's a lot of left-hand turning. You're in the corner a lot over the course of a lap. You don't get a very good chance to rest. I find running with a positive steering offset really helps to keep my right arm a little bit loose throughout the course of the race, because going down the straightaways, I'm holding a little bit of right-hand steering wheel with my left hand, and then going in the corners, I'm loading up and driving with the right hand like usual. So it just kind of is something that it just gives me a little bit better feel. I prefer the hand position. It's nothing more than that. For example, I could run with absolutely crazy steering offset, a 50-degree steering offset, and nothing changes. The car drives exactly the same way. It's just putting my hands in a different position. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, just to prove my point. Yes, it's really awkward to drive like this. Yes, it's a really awkward hand position. But at the same time, it's perfectly drivable. It changes nothing. It just changes where your hands are on the steering wheel and sort of the driving position that results. It doesn't actually affect anything. The car still drives exactly the same way, and you could go the exact same speed if you could just get used to the weirdness that is having your steering wheel tilted all the way over one direction or another. So that's the easy, simple, short answer as to steering wheel offsets, why the steering wheel is tilted to the right in my oval videos. So let's go ahead and answer the more complex question, which is, why are oval cars wanting to turn left all the time? So we fired up the garage pages, and let's take a look at what makes an oval setup and how that differs from a road course setup. Well, first of all, let's start with the tires, because that's, well, the first page available. The left side tires, you'll notice, are both at 33 psi front and rear, but the right side tires are at 44 psi for the right front and then 42.5 for the right rear. Typically, in a road racing scenario, your front tires would be at the same tire pressures and then your rear tires would be at the same tire pressures, typically. However, in this case, you wouldn't want to do that because it doesn't make any sense to do that. And the reasons are, well, first of all, the left side tires are going to experience less loading through the corners. They're the inside tires. They're not going to be dealing with the bulk of the load the same way that the right side tires are. So you want to actually run them at a lower pressure, which will help bring these left side tires up to temperature, which will enable them to do more work more efficiently through the corners. Just like any other tire, you want to get them into their optimal temperature range because that's where they perform the best, which is what you're trying to get here. But the reasons otherwise would be that the right side tires have to have more pressure in them to better deal with the high loading that is placed upon them in the oval corners. A lot of people don't really understand how much loading there actually is, but you're combining lateral forces with vertical forces when you're starting to talk about banking and how that works, and it places a lot of stress on the tires themselves, which is why you see what would be considered in road racing just extraordinarily crazy tire pressures. You would never run tire pressures anywhere near as high in road racing, but here on ovals, to deal with the loading and to keep the tires in their optimal temperatures, that is something that you will typically see. And again, the tires have to be specifically constructed for that purpose. You know, for example, you think about the 2005 U.S. Grand Prix here at Indianapolis. Through turn 1 of the Indianapolis Oval, only going the other way. Turn 13 on the road course, I do believe it was. Michelin had tire failures throughout that weekend because the tires just couldn't handle the loading that was being placed upon them. And you'll also notice, if you were thinking within the thoughts of this video, yes, the left side is going to have a higher level of rolling resistance than the right side of the car because these are softer tires, lower pressure, so the car is going to want to turn left right there as well. We don't need to worry about aerodynamics because that's pretty insignificant for this video. The aerodynamics are the same left side of the car versus the right side of the car. There's nothing that can be done there. Going into the chassis page, once again, you'll see the theme of asymmetrical setup continue. In this case, you'll actually notice the corner weights are biased more towards the right-hand side of the car, which is kind of weird for an oval scenario. Typically, you would have more weight on the left side of the car, which means that there's more loading placed on the left side of the car. The tires have to do more work on that side of the car. You'll especially see that more so in stock cars, where they have to get the car to corner with more mechanical grip rather than being able to rely on downforce like you can within an Indy car. So typically you would see a lot more left side weight bias than right side weight bias. But ignoring that in this case, we'll come back to that a little bit later. You'll notice that the camber, we're running positive camber on the left side of the car. So the top of the left side tires are actually tilted into the corner, but the camber on the right side tires is negative. Once again, the top of the tire is tilted into the left-hand corner, which again, same thing repeated at the rear of the car as well. So everything's tilted to the left to get the car to turn to the left. You'll see the caster is actually different between the left side of the car and the right side of the car, which caster is basically how relaxed the suspension is versus where the steering is. It's kind of difficult to explain. It's something I've never really understood all that well myself. But you'll also notice, again, it's different between the left side of the car and the right side of the car. Typically with road racing, you would never see that. In this case, the toe values are actually the same between the left side of the car and the right side of the car. However, I will say this, in my personal experience, I've actually run with basically no toe at all on all corners except for the left front, which tends to help the car handle a little bit, as well as minimize the amount of scrub going down the straightaways. So again, typically, not so much in this case with the default fixed setup though, you can actually run different toe values between the left side of the car and the right side of the car, front to rear, than what you typically would. So there's that little thing to consider. Again, the ride heights are different at all corners of the car. It's just crazy. Everything is basically meant to get the car to turn to the left. And the reason for the ride heights being different between the left side of the car versus the right side of the car is hopefully when you're going through the corners, the small amount of body roll that every car does have, even an Indy car or an F1 car, still has body roll. This little bit, this 0.3 of an inch, actually a 1/4 of an inch difference in ride heights in this scenario, they should actually equal out as there's more loading placed on the right side of the car. The left side of the car is going to want to rise up a little bit. Think about a 1980s Cadillac going through slalom cones. The inside corner wants to lift up, and hopefully, if set properly, the ride heights between the left side of the car and the right side of the car should actually end up equal through the corners, resulting in a more efficient aerodynamic platform. More downforce, less drag, less wing angle required to get the same downforce figure, which means a lower lap time. Yeah, is this stuff confusing or is this stuff confusing? It's confusing. Yeah. And then there's also dampers, which again you'll see are set up asymmetrically. Once again, typically you would see the same on the rear and the front of the car between one side or another, but not so much the case. Drivetrain settings are totally whatever, don't have any effect in this case, but that's why oval cars turn to the left. Everything is designed to turn to the left. Every last setting is about turning to the left, and it's tweaked in a way to turn to the left. So hopefully that answers your question as to why do oval cars turn left, as well as why do you turn to the right in an oval car or an oval setup going down the straightaways. You also have to remember, generally, the straightaways are also banked to the left, which makes the car, again, want to go to the left. Everything is about going to the left when you're talking about oval racing, unless you're in Australia and you're racing at the Thunderdome, or Thunderdrome. Sounds better when you call it the Thunderdome. So, safety first in the Thunderdome. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.